With the quality of life declining in many Western countries, people are searching for a better quality of life, a fantastic work-life balance, and an amazing place to raise a family. Now, there is no such thing as a perfect country, but let's see if Portugal will tick the most important criteria for you when making a move to a new country. So let's start things off with the most important thing, in my opinion, when picking a destination to move to. This is safety. Safety is paramount to getting the best quality of life. And Portugal is ranked among some of the best countries in the world in terms of safety, with a global peace index rank of 7 out of all the countries in the world. That's just incredible. And it's a full testament to how safe it does feel in Portugal. When walking the streets here, it feels unbelievably safe. If you go to Lisbon, Porto, or Algarve, the major cities, you never feel, going down any kind of street that you feel unsafe, or in the safety of your home, you don't feel like anyone's going to break in. There's no gang culture here, which is a massive issue in other Western countries such as the UK and USA. I feel like this whenever I go and visit or I live there for some time. You definitely feel there's a big gang culture going on, and this is something that really pushes crime among younger people, and that's a big issue. Another issue with crime is through immigration. If you see in many European countries and happening in the US and the UK as well, there's a lot of illegal immigration coming in, and there's not enough opportunities for those immigrants to find jobs which are going to contribute to the economy in a good way. So they end up resulting to crime just to be able to survive. Now in Portugal, it's much more regulated, and they've done a fantastic job in terms of making immigration stabilized, so there's the right amount of people coming in that have opportunities to be able to contribute to the economy, which is fantastic. So you have a great balance in terms of that. Now this all contributes to the unbelievable safety that Portugal is known for. Portugal offers you many different ways to live and move here, such as with the D7 visa, golden visa, and many different long stay and short-term visas that you can move here with your family. Now this is fantastic because you have many different incentives and ways in which you can do it. For example, the D7 is the most popular that I have seen in terms of people moving here, which requires you to have a minimum amount of passive income coming in every single month, which at the moment is 820 euros. So if you match this criteria that's coming in from a pension, a rental property abroad, something like that, then the D7 visa might be a fantastic option for you. There are other visas such as the digital nomad visa, also known as the D8 visa, which requires you to have a minimum of roughly 3,200 euros to be able to monthly income coming in from a job. Then you can apply for the D8 visa. Of course, there are some more requirements for all of these, but you have some fantastic options where these are long stay visas. So you have a temporary residency for 5 years, which can then move into a permanent residency or a citizenship if you choose to get it, which is fantastic because the Portuguese passport is a very strong and worthwhile passport to have. So if you are looking for fantastic options to be able to move to a European country, then Portugal really does offer those. You also have the golden visa, but you can no longer get this through a property investment, unfortunately. You can invest in Portuguese funds, and there are other ways of getting the golden visa, but no longer through a real estate investment, which was the most popular before. So if you're moving from an English-speaking country, then moving to a European country that speaks a different language, such as Portuguese, might be daunting. And of course it is. I originally had this, and many of the clients that we have worked with in the past and helped move here have also had this concern about moving to Portugal because they don't know anything about the language yet. Now, a very good thing about Portuguese, and especially with the younger generation, is they are really starting to pick up and speak incredible English here. So if you're in any of the touristic areas, such as Porto, Lisbon, Algarve, then you will have no issue getting around with English. However, of course, I definitely recommend you picking up Portuguese and potentially taking some lessons before moving here, because it does really help when living here, because you can make more connections and it's easier to make newer friends, and you can really get immersed into your community. So definitely do pick up Portuguese, but you don't need to be worried about moving here just speaking English, because you will not have too much of an issue compared to other European countries with English, which is really good. Now, of course, if you're looking to move to a more rural area within central Portugal, then Portuguese is a more important asset to have. because they don't speak English as much as, the English speakers go towards the more touristic areas where there's more opportunities in the bigger cities. So if you do not speak any Portuguese, then don't worry, Portugal is still a fantastic option, but definitely get those lessons in and start speaking a little bit so you have a good foundation. So a definite drawback about moving to Portugal is the administration and bureaucracy that you have to go through, from getting a visa to opening a bank account to renting an apartment to purchasing a property. You are going to have to deal with different paperwork, and it can take a while, unfortunately. A lot of the stuff here in Portugal isn't digitalized, so you are going to be having to spend a little bit more time than potentially moving to another country, especially, compared to the UK and US, where they're actually quite efficient with all of this. It is going to take a while. So definitely allocate enough time and do not be too impatient with this process. You have to understand that it's going to take a while and there are going to be setbacks and it is going to be slow, and you do have to post stuff by mail physically sometimes. And that can take, weeks or months. So just be prepared for this, but as soon as that is over, it's well worth it. As soon as you're in Portugal, living here, you don't have to deal with the administration or bureaucracy, basically never. I never deal with it anymore pretty much, unless we're working with a client or doing any of this, that we have to deal with it. So as soon as you're here, you don't have to deal with it, and it's well worth it. So do not worry about it and just be patient. It's just the process. Another very important thing about Portugal is the cost of living. Now, something to preface this is the price of properties and rentals has gone up quite considerably in the last 4 years. So the price of property is actually relatively quite high. But in terms of the rest of the day-to-day living, it's very low compared to other European countries and compared to the UK and US especially. If you go out to a local Portuguese restaurant, you can get out there for €10 a head. Other day-to-day costs and supermarkets and everything is much lower than the UK and the US, which is a big drawing factor coming here. So you can live a higher quality of life on the same budget, which is fantastic. Especially, you see this a lot when you live here and then you go back to the UK and the US, and it's just crazy how much the prices have risen. Of course, the prices have risen everywhere across the world because there was inflation that happened in the past 4 years, but it has not been as impacted here as it has in the UK and US. So if you are looking to live a higher quality of life on the same budget, then Portugal is definitely the place. A very important factor for me living in Portugal is the climate. I love being in a warm, sunny place. That's why I specifically chose the Algarve to live in, which is the southernmost region of Portugal. Now, in Lisbon and Porto, you have a little bit colder and wetter weather. Lisbon is in the central part of Portugal, so you have the mix between the Algarve and Porto. But overall, Portugal has a fantastic climate, which brings a lot of joy and quality of life to me and many other expats that have moved here. So if climate is an important factor for you and being able to do outdoor activities, then Portugal is a fantastic option for that. If you're moving with a family, then education is very important. Now, in the major regions with the Algarve, Lisbon and Porto, you have some fantastic international schools. So you don't have to worry about putting your kids into a Portuguese education if they're later into their schooling years and they don't know the language and they could get put behind. Because of that, you can put them into an international school where it's completely done under the British system or American system in some cases, which is fantastic because you can get their very high quality of education and they don't lose out in terms of having to learn the new language from scratch. Now, if you do have younger kids or you would like your kids to learn Portuguese, then you can put them into the Portuguese education system. You have private and public schools to choose from, and they both offer high levels of education. And a fantastic thing about Portugal when having a family here is your kids can have a second language to speak. They can speak English and Portuguese, and being bilingual in this world is just a fantastic thing. So that offers you up to many different options, which is really good as you can pick the right one that's going to fit your circumstance the best. Another fantastic thing about Portugal is the ability to do outdoor sports pretty much year round. Portugal is a very active country doing many different sports, from tennis, football, cycling, just about anything you can imagine. So if you are a sporty person, then Portugal is a fantastic place for that. Especially when you're raising kids as well, they have unlimited activities to do outside and be under the beautiful weather here in Portugal. So another big drawing factor when raising a family. And I think it is very important to put your kids into some kind of sport and have activities at a young age, and Portugal really offers that to them. If you are considering moving to Portugal and purchasing a house here, then we are an exclusive buyer's agency that helps you move and relocate to Portugal with ease, setting you up with the NIF, bank account, visas, virtual tours, in-person tours, everything you can imagine throughout the entire process, we will handle for you to make it as enjoyable and stress-free as possible. If you are interested in that, you can click the first link in the description below to book a free call with me. I look forward to seeing you there and see you in the next video. Bye.